Hi, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. I'm Pedro Victor Brandão. I'm a Brazilian artist, and I'm currently based in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And today, for the next hour, I will be presenting this webinar about Cryptomedia. We'll talk about this intersection of cryptocurrencies and art with NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and other tool sets that are creating quite a new scene of value for digital arts nowadays. And before I start, I'd like to say that this webinar is also presenting in advance the Master in Creative Coding by Shifta and Elisava. This program is directed by the artist and Professor Bruno Caldas Viana, whom I thank you for this opportunity. And I'd like to say thank you also to Marta Maciá and Cristina Izquierdo for setting up this room for ourselves today. And I have a presentation that will last about 1 hour, and I think we'll have around 15 minutes for a Q&A session for questions and answers. And I have to share my screen here. 1 second. Just 1 second here. Share screen. It's a tab. And it's a tab. And it's this one. I think that you might be seeing now my screen. And Cryptomedia, yes, let's begin here. So, Cryptomedia, I think it's a good, interesting name for what we are about to see, because I do believe we're talking about a new medium for expression in the arts and in the finances. During the webinar, we'll go through these topics, origins and fundamentals of this technology. We'll talk a little bit about traits of money, different types of money forms. We'll skip to the ERC 721 standard. And then I will talk a little bit about previous works that I made as an artist, both individually and collectively. And there's a little analytics panel about total capitalization, put in perspective regarding money that is being transacted right now in this field with non-fungible tokens. Talk a little bit about environmental issues. And there are some text references also that we'll certainly look with more depth in the course next year. And by the end, there is a quick overview of the Masters in Creative Computer program. And then we have time for short Q&A. I think that if anybody has a question, you can type in the chat room inside Crowdcast. I'll make sure to take a look every now and then to see if there are any questions during the presentation, but I think that might be better that you save the questions for the end, so we can have some time to talk. And let's go. Before I start, I must make this legal disclaimer, and I will say why shortly after. because we must consider that we're talking about a relatively new field that is subject to much speculation and risks also. We'll talk a little bit about the risks during the presentation, but the disclaimer is more to say that I'm not a financial advisor, neither certified financial analyst, neither an economist, nor an accountant, nor a lawyer. I'm an artist working at the intersections of art and finance with a specific interest in distributed ledger technologies, DLTs, which is kind of the fancy name of blockchains. And before proceeding, participants that are listening here in this room and people that might listen to this webinar in the future, they must agree to release myself from any liability, financial or otherwise, that may arise as a result of actions taken based on the information found in this presentation. This is necessary mostly because we might see some related content after this video is uploaded to YouTube that might lead into scams or other sorts of malfunction within cryptocurrencies. So it's important to know about the risks and to also to do like a collective research of how to operate within this field. And this story begins in 2008 when there was an announcement published in Halloween afternoon of 2008 in cryptography mailing lists, at a time that mailing lists were a good way to have discussion forums. And this publication by anonymous person, Satoshi Nakamoto, tells about peer-to-peer electronic cash. And Satoshi, they published a paper and describes main properties of this technology. Mostly double spending is prevented with a peer-to-peer network. There is no mint or other trusted parties. There is like a key feature of decentralization of Bitcoin, and participants can be anonymous, and new coins are made in a style of proof of work. And the proof of work proof model for new coin generation also powers the network to prevent double spending. And in the abstract of the paper, they announced that through a system of digital signatures, a solution is created in which a distributed ledger takes care of processing the information of transfers and balances, and the longer chain, the longest chain means that the blockchain is made of blocks that always carry the previous transactions with them. And at this paper also, Satoshi, they describe a system of messaging that is built in the technology. And it's important to notice also in the discussions that followed this announcement, that people quickly realized that the proof of work chain is a solution to the Byzantine generals problem, which is kind of makes Bitcoin Byzantine fault tolerant, which basically means that the Byzantine fault is a condition in distributed computing systems where components may fail, and there is imperfect information on whether a component has failed or not. It comes from this allegory, the Byzantine generals problem, and something that is Byzantine fault tolerance means that there is resilience of a determined fault, in a system to such conditions. And this kind of creates the very first solution, the very first implemented solution of triple entry bookkeeping. And if we go back in history, we can see that single entry bookkeeping in Mesopotamia, circa 3,500 years before Common Era, which is also mentioned by media theorists and philosophers as the very first modes of written word. They were actually a system of accountancy. And later, shortly in the beginning of Renaissance, Luca Pacioli creates double entry bookkeeping, which is a system that you can compare balances between two parties. And with Ian Greig's Ricardian contracts, then later with the implementation of Satoshi Nakamoto, the triple entry bookkeeping is made possible without trust between the parties, without like a personal and human trust. This trust is created algorithmically. And this asymmetric key encryption scheme is interesting to read, because it's like the basis of the system of private public key pairs that is also used in encryption for, let's say, WhatsApp, when only the people who own or who have the private keys to a determined public key can read encrypted messages. And there is a part of this scheme that is shareable, which is the public key. In case of Bitcoin cryptocurrencies, this is your wallet address. And there is a private key that is sort of a passphrase or a password that creates this possibility to also allocate value inside these wallets. And the Genesis block of Bitcoin was minted in January 3rd, 2009. And Satoshi, they included a message in a parameter of the transaction that is called Coinbase. We can see here, and there is a date, the same date when the Genesis block was minted, and there is Chancellor on brink of second bailout of banks. And this was the main headline of one newspaper from United Kingdom. And in the beginning of the year 2009, mostly all the banks were in danger of complete failure, and governments had to step in to save with bailouts and money printing in a process that later became known as quantitative easing. And this is a strong statement that is in the very first transaction. And it's important to notice also, like already in 2009, we had this like notarial function as a information that is stored in a public ledger. It's immutable, and if we trace back all the blocks of Bitcoin blockchain, we go through, we will see this message that is still there and can be changed. And I think this graph is important. This table is important to also be present here. It's something that we'll talk more during the course, but it's the different traits of money between. In this table, there is gold fiat money, that is money like from national currencies. such as Brazilian real or euro, and Bitcoin. And for each of these properties, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, they have like a high value of filling these conditions for money to exist. And I guess that might be one of the reasons that the price of Bitcoin has increased by, I don't know, 1,000-fold in the past 10 years. And we can say also that it fulfills these three basic properties of the traditional fiat money, which is Bitcoin is also store of value, is a unit of account. It can be divisible in decimals, and it's a medium of exchange. People can use this asset to buy and sell and exchange things in the virtual world, but also in the real world. And in 2014 and especially in 2015, Ethereum is created by Russian developer Vitalik Buterin and his team, and it adds another layer of property to this kind of new money, which is which is the creation and the execution of smart contracts. And we can see Ethereum as like a programmable money, in which other tokens and other currencies can be created within Ethereum, because Ethereum is actually a virtual machine in which a developer can run scripts. There is a specific language to work with Ethereum. It is called Solidity. And decisions of implementations that happen on Ethereum, they are implemented in a forum through first improvement proposals that anyone can create one, and later an improvement proposal becomes a request for comments. And when a request for comments is approved, it can create a new standard. This is a screen print of the improvement proposal forum, and there is like different status, like draft, let's call, accepted, final non-core, and final core. When it reaches final core, you can say that there is a consensus to implement a new standard. And it is in this context that the standard ERC 721 is created in, I guess, 2018, after some months of discussion. And it is the standard that allows implementation of a standard API for non-fungible tokens within smart contracts. And the standard provides basic functionality to track and transfer NFTs. And there are many use cases, but the use cases that were described at the proposal says that NFTs can represent ownership over digital or physical assets. And this is one example of a Solidity smart contract. There are certain operators that resemble a little bit the language JavaScript. And these types of standards of implementations within Ethereum, they create what has been called like a decentralized financial stack. And there is made of layers. In case of Ethereum, the native protocol asset is Ether. And you have aggregators, exchanges, asset management, and the blockchain itself. And in this webinar, we're focusing one specific part of this stack that are the non-fungible tokens within the standard ERC 721. And now I'll skip a little bit to some works that I made in the past that use these technologies in different ways. I'll comment a little bit about some of them, and I hope maybe later we can also talk about it with more depth. The first one is called The Fit. It was developed in partnership with artist Mayra das Neves, who is a Brazilian artist, also currently based in Barcelona, Spain, Catalonia. And in 2013, we made a research trip to the region of Ruhrgebiet in Germany. And it's a region in Europe that is known for, right now, in the past 20 years, it was heavily deindustrialized, and the main economic activity for many, many years, until, I guess, the end of Second World War, was mining iron ores, mostly. And the mines were depleted, and we were invited by a collective of artists and curators, Kunstrepublik, to develop a work there. And in 2013, yeah, we made the research trip to check the possibilities of what could we do there. And already in that time, 2013, we were thinking of how Bitcoin and decentralized ledger technologies could work as micro models of self-funding. And in 2014, we went back for about 6 months, and we implemented the model in which, in this old caravan here, we installed 3 cryptocurrency mines, and that were connected to the electrical grid and to the internet. And we were able to mine cryptocurrencies with these mining rigs that were made of graphic processor units, graphic cards. And this system of mining, at that time, it was possible to do this in a domestic environment. And with the money that we minted with these machines, we invested in activities inside the lot. We made workshops. We actually paid the rent of the whole lot for about 4 months with a portion of these outcomes. And it was a very interesting experiment, because I guess before I didn't had full knowledge about financial matters. And while we're doing the research and learning together, was this new world that we saw that it was possible to also to manipulate, to see it as a soft medium for the arts and for self-funding. And we made a series of works, including photo paintings, videos, and also micro transactions, and trying to guess and to estimate what could be done with this kinds of system in the cities of Erchenschwick, which is the small city where the lot was located, and also later in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And it's kind of a speculative fiction theory about this self-funding model. And there is this second work, and there is a series actually called Slits in Depth, and this one is already minted as non-fungible tokens in a platform called Async. That is, I guess, one of the platforms that will show during the full course in next year. And async allows artists to create programmable artworks that change state depending on some conditions. And the series I made there is made of stereographic photographs, photo collages, actually. And they are dynamic, non-fungible tokens. Each hour of the day, they change state. And if a person looks with a Redsian 3D glasses, you can actually see the depths of these elements. This work was commissioned for ARIA, which is a curatorial platform founded by Marcelo Vieira and Livia Benedetti for an exhibition in space in an institution here in São Paulo called Pivot. And I used also this work to make a giveaway, meaning that people that would visit the website where the work is hosted could kind of fill a form and sign a message with their Ethereum wallets. And in the end of the exhibition, we made a draw to give away the work. And there's also Returnable from 2019, which is different from the last one. Is a physical work made of these boxes, like boxes that you see in entry halls of buildings, at least here in Brazil. And they are collages, and they are also non-fungible tokens that include a capitalization process. So I wanted to create at that time an artwork that kind of accrues interest over time. So this work was shown in a commercial gallery here in Brazil, and 1/3 of the purchase value of the work in the gallery was allocated back into these wallets that are listed here, and were kind of locked. And behind the collage, there is like a silver leaf, and behind the silver leaf there are the seed phrases, the private keys that open these wallets. It's a kind of experiment also with collective ownership, because I have the private keys. The collectors, in order to also have the private keys, and if they want to withdraw the funds, they have kind of to destroy the work. And the objective of this series was to make the value allocated inside the wallet, triplicating value to value 200%, which actually was achieved early in 2021 in one of the cycles of appreciation of the cryptocurrencies. And this work is like a screenshot from OpenSea in 2019, which is funny because using the interface of OpenSea, which is one of the largest marketplaces for non-fungible tokens since ever, I guess, has changed a lot, and it looks completely different now. I think it's interesting to see how rudimentary it looked like in 2019. And each one of the tokens, they were transferred to the wallets, and there is a record of these transactions. There is a provenance tracking possibility also. And I guess this was the first work that I minted, the first series of work that I minted as NFTs. And I'm still, every now and then, I keep thinking about them. And I think during the course, we can also see exactly which tools were used, how I deployed the smart contract, and where the images were hosted at that time. And next is Proofs of Work series. that there are also non-fungible tokens that were minted between 2021 and 2022 in Ephemera. Ephemera is the first marketplace that is dedicated only to lens-based art, and it's a curated marketplace that hasn't much volume. Actually, there isn't volume at all lately, but it's one of the also only ones to allow uploads of ultra high resolution images. And this series is made of photographic proofs that I printed myself since 1992, that some of them don't even have negatives anymore. Some of them are chemical paintings, like unique works like this one. And what I did was to create high resolution scans with really high dimensions, and to mint them as NFTs, and also to include some sort of agreement between myself, the galleries, the traditional art galleries that represent my work, and the future owners of this work, that if they buy the NFT, they can have the physical object, but they also have a share of future copies that might be printed and sold in the traditional art market. So I guess one of the goals also was to make the high definition file publicly available and archivable for every person who clicks on the link where the file is hosted on IPFS. IPFS is one of the key instruments and from the Cryptomedia environment, and it allows a decentralized storage system to be created, and it's also a way to create almost like a 99% sure permanent record of a file on the internet right now. And the series has about 21 works. No, sorry, I think there are 18 works minted right now, and I might mint some more in the future. Here's the detail of the high resolution file. There is also on the first screen, and the next work that is actually an organization that I'm part of as a strategic partner and analyst also is the Sphere. And the Sphere was founded by a duo of circus artists, Saloranta de Wilde, Ole and Sara, and also Eric Bordelot, who's a writer and philosopher, as a new model of funding for the performing arts. Actually, the date is wrong here. I'm sorry. The Sphere was founded in 2018, not 2020. But in this organization, there is like a common goal between people who gather together, who gather around the idea of mostly collective ownership and the ability to redistribute risks and opportunities of making art. So in a sense, it kind of works like an agency, but it can also be described as a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO, which is this sort of new legal entity that is made possible with distributed ledger technologies, in which people can join and to create proposals and to decide about how to make treasury management and to allocate funds for different types of projects. I think one of the key one of the key mottos of the sphere is what we have been calling speculative generosity, in a sense that we have all this new financial stack in which we can extract value, but extract value individually, it gets boring. It's something that can be made better when it's made together, especially for the performing arts that for a long time has struggled because it's an uninformed creation. Sometimes performances do not leave traces, or they do not create objects, but performance artists still need money to make research, to pay for, I don't know, materials for studios, and these exercises of wealth transfer. I think it's what interests me the most. I guess the sphere is like also a long-term project, which is something that goes a little bit against the huge hype that was created around NFTs, with instant gratification, and you see these people making large sums of money. Sometimes you see scams also. But when creating a long-form piece or a long-form organization, it's actually possible to delve into new asset formations. And in the sphere, there is also this idea of the audience becomes sort of an invested audience in a manner that they can co-own the artworks. And this year, 2022, there was a campaign, was the Karmic Engine funding campaign, in which 6 seed performances were listed, and they could receive donations. And if determined seed performance got more than a threshold of 10 Ether, it would like automatically enable a mode of co-creation in which this amount of money here would be directed to the creation of derivative works from other artists that are like right now being selected through a process that is known as quadratic voting, in which voting can have different weights for each person who is voting. And all this campaign was hosted on Mirror, which is one of the tools of this tool set that we're gonna definitely see closely during the course. And I think this last work is the Acerola Fund. Also, I had forgotten to put the Acerola Fund here, but this Acerola Fund was created by myself in early 2021 as a distributed governance and indirect coordination experiment focused on acquisition of NFTs created by artists from the Global South. And it's made basically of a wallet that hosts a collection of works. Right now, there's about these 12 works from artists from Venezuela, Brazil, Eritrea, and also Cuba, I guess, are these ones. And it was similarly to the sphere. I think it was a way that I saw to propagate value in the future, and this capital comes from my own works, and from other sources that we're going to see in the end. And the structure of the fund also has a governance token, which is a token that I distributed for free during an exhibition, an online exhibition in 2021, during the relaunching of the platform Homeostasis Lab. And curator Guilherme Teixeira asked me for a commission work, and I wanted to create a work that was distributed for free, so people they could fill a form to register their interest into having this token. And it's a token made in an edition, which is different from the previous ones that are like unique ERC 7211 tokens. These tokens are ERC 1155, which is the standard for semi-fungible tokens. And this token, it has no value, even though people can list it for sale, but its main function right now that hasn't actually been tested is to become a proposal instrument using Snapshot, which is another amazing tool for decision making and for proposal creation. And people that have one little Acerola token can create proposals for acquisition of artworks for the fund when the fund is has capital allocated inside the wallet. And this is also an experiment of co-ownership, because I wouldn't say that this collection is mine. I think it's an experiment of kind of creating a vault that is collectively owned, and there is no speculative interest when buying the works. I don't plan to sell them, and I don't buy to make a profit out of it. But I find that is kind of a responsibility also because I know how to operate in this field. There is money to be made, but if you don't redistribute the values, there is a chance of keeping the same circle of white male and North established best-selling artists. And I guess the bootstrapping of the fund, it's basically these has these five origins, being 10 to 30% of the money that it goes to the fund comes from sales of works of my own. And if someone sells one of the decentralized autonomous Acerola tokens, there is royalties that go back to the fund. There's also airdrops, which is an interesting phenomenon within Web3 and decentralized finance in general, and that I don't have so much time to explain it right now because it's a bit complicated. But it's basically like a reverse IPO where protocols and services reward early users with newly created tokens. Sometimes these tokens can appreciate in value. And there's also lotteries, liquidity providing, bonding, and staking, or also direct donations to the acerola.eth address. And as I said, this is what's kind of a responsibility that I saw, mostly that considering that this data from April 2021 listed 5 top-selling artists are all people from the North, mostly male, with an exception of few ochos that later that year came out as a non-binary, as a transgender person. But yet it's still concentrated these top-selling artists in the North. And I guess in 2021, in March 2001, there was the Beeple sale that made NFTs go through the roof. Everybody was talking about it. There was a huge hype. And I think it's important to, during the course, I guess we have time to talk more about this general trend of certain toxic positivity around this field, and people are not being able to see the meanders, the nuances of this technology, what can be made, that is certainly not going to be in the headlines of newspapers all around. And this graph here on the next slides brings the total capitalization of this field in comparison with other fields. Even though there was the huge hype in 2021 and this year 2022, values and total volumes, they tanked a lot, mostly because of regulation issues and also macroeconomics and other externalities also. But in 2021, art NFTs, they had the sum of about $2.6 billion, while the collectibles and non-art NFTs, which is like sometimes illustrations and utility tokens, and also cartoons and monkeys and everything else that is, we could say that is not canonical or intentionally created art, had a capitalization of $15 billion in 2021. And then we have the traditional contemporary art capitalization in 2021, which was about $65 billion. And then for comparison, here's the gaming industry revenue in 2021, which was estimated in $180 billion. So looking at this graph, we know that there is a nascent field. We're kind of still early, even though there was huge hype. I guess comparing these different sectors of the economy puts this field in comparison, in perspective, and such large amounts of money also can create environmental issues. And this is a tweet from Hal Finney, which was one of the persons that was talking to Satoshi Nakamoto in the cryptography mailing list back in 2008. He's unfortunately deceased already. But this tweet of Hal Finney thinking about how to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from widespread Bitcoin implementation. There was already this thing to worry in 2009, and I think this graph here puts also in perspective energy usage in the United States compared to the usage of the blockchain and of Bitcoin mining. So we have air conditioners here, air conditioners, or refrigerators, and chemicals, mining, actual mining of iron and steel. They consume a lot more energy than Bitcoin, but yet this energy here is comparable to the energy usage of some countries. And the annualized total Ethereum carbon footprint, it was a matter of great discussion into 2001, especially because of the Digiconomist blog, which is kind of a conservative blog that is written by a former employee of the Dutch Federal Bank. And this estimate here, comparable to the carbon footprint of Bulgaria of 48 megatons of carbon dioxide, it was before the merge of the Ethereum, because Ethereum was also also used the proof of work model to validate the blocks. And after many years of discussion, the core team implemented the beacon chain, and it changed the proof model of Ethereum to proof of stake. I guess on the course over the course we focus mostly on Ethereum applications, mostly because of the interoperability of Ethereum virtual machine. But we'll also talk about Tezos blockchain that has a really interesting setting, and there is like almost like an indie scene of artists that work on Tezos, and Tezos was always framed as an ecological friendly blockchain, and a green blockchain, and also mostly a green blockchain. But it's good to remember that there is no good capitalism, there is no green, no eco-friendly capitalism. Capitalism will always kill and will always try to grow more, as almost like if it was a cancer. But the fact is that after the merge, Ethereum energy consumption and carbon footprint reduced pretty much by 99%, and which makes also Ethereum right now ecological friendly blockchain. And here there is one last graph, I guess the last one, comparing the carbon footprint of different sectors of the economy, being energy the most energy intense sector, followed by agriculture, and that includes also cattle and deforestation to plant soybeans in North Brazil, waste, industry, and Bitcoin and Ethereum accounting for 0.11% of total global emissions of carbon dioxide equivalent. And this graph is also good to have in mind, because one single municipality of Brazil, Altamira, Pará, mostly because of cattle fields and deforestation, accounts for 35 megatons of carbon dioxide equivalent. 35 megatons is pretty much as if it was 1.5 Ethereum annualized carbon footprint before the merge. And I guess approaching towards the end soon, this graph of the Gartner hype cycle that is often used to describe cycles of adoption of new technologies between expectations and time. I guess that we were passed already through this peak of inflated expectations with huge confidence, and people on Twitter cheering and saying we're all going to make it. And then there was a crash, and during this crash many people got hurt. I guess it's important also, instead of doing individual research, the most interesting mode of operation is to do collective research about how to create new value forms, and especially how to redistribute wealth nowadays. And I guess we're not yet going to this plateau of productivity, but I guess with time and with good studies, we can reach there. And sometimes the Gartner cycle is also expressed as different sentiments. Of course, this is not a totality of all the markets, but whenever you start to look more into cryptocurrencies and NFTs, you can see when someone is euphoric, and you can see people with anxiety. They don't sleep well because they are looking at charts and stuff like that. And it's a pretty bipolar field. So if someone is alone, it can be kind of hard to deal with the sentiments. So I think the most interesting parts of Cryptomedia ecosystems is where you can create community projects and establish common goals and see how this technology can be used for the common good and for creation of value capture from the future to the present that allows creators and artists to not be imprisoned by lack of funds or something like that. And here by the end, I'll go quickly through some of the bibliography that we'll read during the course, including Jay Graeber article Web3 Self-Certifying, in which she explains the differences between host-generated content and host-generated authority of Web 1 back in the days of, I don't know, early 2000s and before, with GeoCities and static pages. Web 2 with user-generated content and host-generated authority, websites like Facebook and also Flickr and also Tumblr and Twitter, I guess. And Web 3 with user-generated content and user-generated authority because of the implementation of public-private key encryption schemes. And there's this text also from Tina Rivers Ryan, who's a professor and curator also, asking herself and the audience if NFT wars will end in utopia or dystopia from 2021. There is like a strong criticism coming from Marxist left, especially with Yanis Varoufakis and also pretty much everything that Eugene Morozov writes. This interview talking about the techno-feudalism is really good to read and to debate. And Justin Ludwig from 2016, Art in Search of Alternative Economic Systems, gives a glimpse of different projects before this huge hype that think of modes of creation, of collective creation, that consider the creation of funds, of self-funding, and endowments, and so on. And there's this text about the exhibition where the returnable series of mine was shown in 2019 by Leonardo Araújo Bezerra to enter the School of Value. And lastly, this paper that was released earlier this year, talking about the cybersecurity issues within the NFT ecosystem, considering marketplaces, wallet providers, service providers, and also it's a very detailed paper. There is pretty much possibly one of the first things we're going to read together to understand and to take notes how to navigate safely. And before we go through to the questions and answer, I'd like to remember that this webinar is like a spoiler of the course of the Master in Creative Computing by Shifta and Lizava, directed by Professor and artist Bruno Caldas Viana. And there are 25 spots available. Classes will start in March 2023, so there's time to fill admissions. If you like to enroll, you can just go to Shifter website. Probably the link will be here in the description later. And the Cryptomedia part that I'll take care of, it's part of the course. We'll have 4 or 5 classes that will also create the possibility for the students to deploy their smart contracts to create financial experiments in a small scale, but also to understand nuances of these techniques. But the course has a very interesting crew. I totally recommend it. There's Jimmy Kogan, Tom O'Raniel, Darren Guler, Bruno Caldas himself, El Dominguez, Genevieve Hoffman, and the course will cover many fields within creative computing, including artificial intelligence, hardware, and also you can read later on in the descriptions. So I'd like to thank everybody who made this webinar possible. Thank you that is watching here. And I think we have some time for questions and answers. I'll be around for about, I don't know, the next 10 minutes, 20 minutes, let's say. Thank you, Bruno. Thank you, Bruno. That's so nice that you're here. I'm looking in the chat of Crowdcast. If you folks have some questions, I'll be around. Thank you, Pablo. Thank you for being here. So nice. I'm happy to share these experiences so far, and I'm looking forward also for the course next year. Bruno was asking, what do we think about the Ethereum's move to proof of stake? I think it was a necessary move because in order to be able to scale without creating more energy pressure, the core developers had to come with a way to do it almost seamlessly. This transition, and it took a long time to be implemented because it had to be made with much care. Otherwise, there could be like blockchain outages that would create a lot of problems. And all the transition was made first in the test nets before it went live to the mainnet. And it happened, I guess, something like 2 or 3 weeks ago. For the end user, it didn't change anything, but this feature of consuming much less power, I think it was a great decision without compromising the decentralization. And there's a question also by Pablo: how deep do we get to learning the master about NFT? What programming skills should we have? What do we learn? Yeah, I think we don't go into so many technical implementations. I mean, if you have already knowledge of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you do super fine with Solidity. But I guess we'll go more into first the ideological part within media theory, and also these new scenes of value. There are made possible. But in the technical part, I guess we'll be able to deploy smart contracts, we'll be able to mint NFTs, we'll be able to create fundraising campaigns, something like what's made with the Sphere, for instance, or using Mirror. I think there will be a long list of tools, and we can collectively choose which one to focus, or with each one, which one of them we're going to work for the final project. And but we won't enter into the grammar of Solidity, for instance, because usually Solidity courses, well, a person can take about 1 year to be like proficient in the language. But it helps a lot if people have a background of coding, especially with these basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Yeah, thank you. And do we have more questions? I guess we have about some more minutes. All right, I think if we don't have any more questions, I would like to thank everyone for coming here this afternoon, this evening, and I hope to see you all soon next year during the course. Bye, thank you.